Next month, we'll see the release of Paul McCartney's new album McCartney 3, recorded not in lockdown, but in rockdown, according to Sir Paul. And you gotta give it to the man, 78 years old, and this guy is not even close to retiring. What an inspiration, right? So to get in the mood for the new album, today we're gonna look at 3 more obscure songs from his solo career that are great fun to play. Number 1 is a song called Jenny Wren. Dramatic chord there on the end. C minor. That was from a song called Jenny Wren, a beautiful hidden gem by Paul McCartney, of course. And he uses the same technique when you listen closely as in Blackbird. It's exactly the same technique. And it's funny because McCartney created this way of playing out of pure necessity because he couldn't figure out when he was young how to do the fingerpicking appropriately, so he invented his own technique. There's a bit of Chet Atkins influence in his bass, the thumb, but unlike Chet Atkins, who does this, McCartney is just doing almost like a tuba, pum, pum. And then he adds a bit of rhythm with just one finger at the tuba. Add some finger picking. And that sounds so different than your regular normal picking. I mean, it's a bit more uplifting and it has a bit more groove to it. We have to be kind of happy that McCartney wasn't able to figure out how to do it quote unquote appropriately, otherwise we wouldn't have this great sound, right? Now in the bridge, the song goes from C to C minor, a different key. Sounds almost a bit classical, doesn't it? Especially something like this. And that's something that McCartney does all the time. It's called contrary motion, when the bass is descending and the melody is ascending, goes up. Together, that always works well. And although McCartney had no musical training whatsoever, he instinctively feels and understands this. Knowing the name contrary motion doesn't get you anywhere. You need to know what it does. That's far more important than knowing the name.
No one ever left alive in 1985 will ever do.
And that was a small part from a song called 1985, taken from perhaps his best album after the Beatles, Band on the Run. And when you look at his piano playing, that left hand is so incredibly simple. That's nothing, right? You and I could think of that, but then he adds the right hand and it's... And suddenly we have a song, we have a hook. Now, you don't need 3 years of piano lessons to be able to do this. And just like in the previous song, where McCartney has one technique that he uses over and over again, it's the same thing here. Look at the left hand. So it's always the same pattern. In the left hand, the octave. You know, it's funny when you analyze this stuff, it's amazing how incredibly simple it is, right? It's like, why the hell didn't I think of that? For example, the bridge in this song only has 3 notes in the right hand. Nothing to it and doesn't sound like much, but add the McCartney bass, the left hand, and we get... And that sounds so awesome, doesn't it? Now this song is one of those riffs that sound very difficult, but actually it's hilariously easy because all you have to do is this. It's not very subtle or very refined, is it? And then you have to play it fast, of course. Couldn't be more simpler and more effective, right? And in the pre-chorus, he does something that we talked about earlier. Let's see if you can hear what McCartney is doing. I can't tell you how I feel. My heart is like a wheel. Always when you sing McCartney, it's so incredibly high, eh? It's impossible. But did you recognize the technique? When the chords go down, the melody goes up. And when the chords go back up, the melody goes down. Contrary motion. Now, most people aren't aware of that technique, of course. It just sounds good, but obviously there's a reason why it sounds good. Now, in the chorus, there are just basically two chords. Very simple. But in this song, the bass line, like in many McCartney songs, is very often very strong and very dominant. So you want to include it into your playing on the guitar as well. What an incredible song, right? Let's hope there are some hidden gems like this one in the next album as well. But you know, for me, McCartney still doing gigs, creating albums. I mean, the man is almost 80 years old, and who cares if his voice isn't the same as before? I mean, it's allowed. The fact that he's still making music, that's just an inspiration by itself. Okay guys, that's enough for me today. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.